So much for your time. I am Pius Kujubaka. I look now at our stories, and we want to start off with this very big story we are learning. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has kept the policy rate at 28%. Chairman of the committee and Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, made the announcement at a press briefing a while ago. He explained that the committee took the decision due to risks still associated with inflation, which currently stands at 21.2%. Here's Governor Dr. Johnson Isiama.
The latest forecast points to continued easing of inflationary pressures on the back of tight monetary policy stance, exchange rate stability, and fiscal consolidation. Inflation is expected to ease faster towards the medium-term target in the first quarter of next year, that is 2026, as opposed to the second quarter as earlier envisaged, and this is barring unanticipated shocks. Despite these positive developments, the committee observed that the current level of inflation remains high relative to the medium-term target and will require maintaining the tight stance to reinforce the disinflation process. Under the circumstances, the committee, by a unanimous decision, maintained the policy rate at 28.0%.
All right, let's explore this further. Joining us via phone is the director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, who is also an economist, Professor Peter Quartey. Thank you so much, sir, for agreeing to speak to us here on Business Live. And first of all, I bet this maintenance doesn't come to you as a surprise, considering the justifications given by the governor. Am I right?
Oh, certainly so. The Monetary Policy Committee looks at a couple of factors in determining whether to keep the policy rate, adjust it upwards, or reduce it. Now, if you look at our economy thus far, exchange rate has been relatively stable. In fact, we are seeing appreciation in the exchange rate. What it means is that even the inflation is also coming down. And with this happening, inflation expectations is likely to be downwards. People would expect that prices will even fall or decline further. On the back of all of this, you either keep the policy rate or even reduce it. But I think it's early days yet. I believe the Bank of Ghana, at the back of all of this, also looks at the amount of liquidity in the system. When there is excess liquidity, you would either increase your policy rate or keep it already high. So I believe all of this went into the policy rate determination, given that we're also having quite strong fiscal consolidation. So it didn't come to me as a surprise at all.
It didn't come to you as a surprise, you say. But considering the positive trajectory we've recorded over the period, what would a marginal drop have done for us?
Well, a marginal drop would have led to some, although interest rates are sticky downwards, maybe it could have led some marginal decline in lending rates, for instance. But then they decided to keep it now because we may be having quite some strong liquidity in the system. You don't want to drop the rates. You want to keep it high so that it will attract people to continue to save whatever excess liquidity they have. Mind you, when you drop your rate as well, it may lead to capital flight. Those holding bonds, etc., might try to withdraw their money because if interest rates drop, and they may compare with other countries and see other assets and see which one is more profitable. So you strike a delicate balance.
All right, let's get to find this. Given the tight monetary stance, how is the Bank of Ghana going to assess the trade-off between price stability and private sector credit growth, especially when the real sector recovery remains fragile owing to constrained credit?
Well, I believe the price stability, given the fiscal stance and the downward or the appreciation of exchange rate, declining inflation, it will give the real sector some hope. The real sector can plan, and gradually that can stimulate the real sector. Also, going forward, the government is talking about a big push agenda. It's talking about other interventions. So over time, you see the monetary or the Bank of Ghana coordinating or speaking with the fiscal authorities and with government interventions. We see the private sector also picking up. But stability in prices, exchange rate, interest rate, and inflation is good for business.
Let me find this from you as well. What will this mean to businesses wanting to access credit?
Well, for businesses wanting to access credit, nothing has changed. They can still access credit. I think now, given that the treasury bill rate has come down quite considerably, banks will be more willing to lend to the real sector. Previously, they were not doing much of financial intermediation. It was a very lazy way of lending or doing business. Most of their finances or lending went to government securities, and that is also very risky. You don't lump everything into one institution or unit. And therefore, given that now we are seeing the treasury rates, we are seeing other government papers, rates on other government papers coming down, banks will then be forced to lend to the real sector. So that is positive for business and for growth.
Professor Peter Quartey, thank you so much for your time here on Business Live. He's the director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research. He's speaking to us here. And we want to go live to the Central Bank, where my colleague George Yafe has been covering this press conference for us. George, we've heard the justifications given by the governor. What more has he been saying?
Well, one more I have to say to you, Pius, is that when it comes to the cash reserve ratio, that has been a very thorny issue when it comes to the commercial banks. Actually, the governor says that, so for instance, if a commercial bank has a reserve in Ghana City, the cash reserve ratio would be met in that same local currency. If a bank is holding pounds, the reserve ratio will be kept in that currency. Don't forget that because of this, actually, some of the banks were actually taking some actions to try and discourage people from holding their currencies in FX. And it appears that this will now make it less expensive to hold these FX in terms of these commercial banks, so that they will not end up making it difficult for you and I to have access to these monies as well. Also, Pius, there have been concerns about the sustainability of the Ghana City going forward. What the governor had to say is that what we are seeing right now is driven by market sentiment. And it's not that they are indeed pumping in money to sustain what we are seeing right now. So he believes that because it is driven by market sentiment, the issue about sustainability shouldn't be a problem at all. Again, if you look at the reserve position of the Bank of Ghana right now, they have gone way beyond what they should even have for this year. And that is also feeding into what they would describe as market confidence. That is why we are not seeing any challenge with the Ghana City. There was also concerns about whether the Bank of Ghana is going to be working with any pegged rate, if you can say that. For instance, the Bank of Ghana is looking at maybe city stabilizing at around 9 Ghana cities or maybe 10 Ghana.
George Yafe seems to have frozen, and as and when he's... Okay, so I'm told he's back. So, George, walk us through what you were saying earlier.
Out of play in terms of coming in to take some actions when it matters. Pius, if you can repeat your question again, I'll be very grateful, please.
So I wanted you to conclude that for me on the part of the CD's aspect. And, of course, when you talk about the debt stock, how does he intends to ensure sustainability of our debt stock?
But quick on the debt stock. I remember I asked a question about that debt situation, but it looks like the governor still wanted some clarity on that. So in terms of the outlook for the Ghana City, the governor insists that it is driven by market sentiment, and these are quite positive market sentiments. They have no plan in terms of having a targeted rate that they have to work with. On the inflation outlook, the governor insisted that they are looking at having that single digit being met in the first quarter of next year, but they feel that things will roll really well. But they're looking at the end of the first quarter of next year, they should achieve the much talked about single digit target for the economy. Pius.
Thank you so much, George Yafi, and we are waiting for that comprehensive report from you in our subsequent bulletins. But let's stay a while longer at the central bank, and the total value of mobile money transaction has reached another record level for the first 4 months of this year. The Bank of Ghana puts the amount at 1.3 trillion cedis ending April 2025. More in this report.
New value recorded by the Bank of Ghana represents a significant leap from what we had in the same period for 2024. According to the central bank, in the first 4 months of last year, the total value of mobile money transactions was pegged at 779.1 billion Ghana cedis. It is not clear for now what is driving this growth, but some industry watchers are linking it to the fact that more transactions are being done on this platform by businesses and individuals. Again, a lot more mobile money accounts are also being registered, whilst more companies are also accepting it as a means of payment for financial transactions.
And Ghana's total earnings from export hit record levels ending April this year. The Bank of Ghana puts the figure at $9.3 billion. More from George Yafi again.
Of economic and financial data released by the Bank of Ghana showed that the amount realized represents a huge jump from the $5.3 billion gotten in April 2024. Gold was the major driver of this record growth for the first 4 months of this year, bringing in more than half of what the country secured. This development is said to be driving the record appreciation against the US dollar. It has resulted in Ghana's international reserves reach $10.6 billion ending April this year, compared to $6.5 billion in April last year. It actually represents 4.7 months of import cover. Ghana, on the other hand, spent $5.1 billion on its imports for the first 4 months of this year, resulting in a trade surplus of $4.1 billion.
Finance professor at Andrews University, Williams Repra, is cautioning government against borrowing for the sole purpose of consumption rather than for the productive sectors of the economy. His comment follows the report that Ghana's total debt stock rose slightly to 769.4 billion cedis as of April, reflecting a marginal increase from the level recorded in December 2024. Speaking to Joy Business, Professor Repra stressed that continued borrowing for non-productive spending could worsen the country's debt burden and compromise economic stability.
I mean, so if we are, okay, so anytime we borrow and the debts, we are using it for productivity, it has a positive impact on growth. However, if we are borrowing and using it for consumption, it will have a negative impact. So that is what we saw in the past. So I'm just advising the current government, whatever we are going to take money from in terms of loans, we must put them in the productive sectors. When our debt levels are moving up, it may have an impact on some other projects, infrastructural projects, education and health, because instead of using the money to pay for, to do these activities, we'll be using it to service loan repayment, interest, and principal payment, and then become the country will start to suffer. This is what we experienced in the past. So I know the lessons have been learned, and the government will have to strategize well in terms of their use of funds.
Now, Finance Minister Dr. Tuforsen has announced that he will commence payment of claims by contractors once the Auditor General submits his interim report. The Finance Minister disclosed this when the Group Chief Executive of EcoBank, Jeremy Awori, paid a courtesy call on him. More in this report.
Finance Minister, the Auditor General is expected to submit an interim audit report on outstanding contractor claims in the coming days, which will trigger the commencement of payments by government. The minister revealed that government inherited contractor arrears amounting to 67 billion cedis and has committed to auditing and settling these obligations over a 4-year period. Dr. Kasiela Tuforsen underscored the administration's determination to avoid the accumulation of new arrears. He referenced recent amendments to the Public Financial Management Act intended to bring greater discipline and transparency to public procurement and contract management. The finance minister during the meeting also announced that about 13 billion cedis has been allocated in the 2025 budget to begin clearing the verified claims.
You're still watching Business Live. We have more for you after this break. Welcome back to Business Live. Only 3 Ghanaian companies were named in Financial Times' fastest growing businesses in Africa in 2025. The ranking considered the revenue, compound annual growth, and absolute growth rates of 130 companies across 54 economies of Africa. The best companies came from South Africa and Nigeria. More in this report.
Group PLC and Isoko were the only Ghanaian companies named in the list, with a compound annual growth rates of 41.7%, 27.6%, and 17.6% respectively. The 4th edition of the ranking featured 51 South African companies, the highest number of companies by country, followed by Nigeria with 28 companies and Kenya. According to Financial Times, Nigerian companies occupied the top 3 spots. The ranking was also dominated by fintechs, financial services, and e-commerce companies.
One of our lead story, Unilver Ghana PLC has declared a dividend of 60 pesos per share for its 2024 financial year. The company, which produces popular household brands such as Pepsodent, Geisha, and Omo, recorded a profit after tax of 58 million cedis, a decline from 141 million cedis recorded in 2023. More in this report.
Despite a challenging year, Unilver Ghana PLC recorded a profit after tax of 58 million cedis. Total assets grew to 44 million cedis from 410 million cedis in 2023. The group also embarked on various sustainability initiatives, including empowering over 500 retailers through some of its transformative programs. Acknowledging the economic challenges of 2024, Board Chairman of Unilver Ghana PLC, Edward Ifa, was hopeful of a rebound in 2025. He spoke at the company's 51st annual general meeting.
Despite these economic challenges, your company, Unilver Ghana, has continued to thrive. Our strategic initiatives enabled us to deliver value to our shareholders. We are focused on sustainable growth, leveraging our strong portfolio of brands and investing in local talent and resources. Your company reported a profit for the year of 58 million Ghana cedis, with a positive cash position of 97 million Ghana cedis. Dividends. The Board of Directors hereby propose a dividend payment of 60 pesos per share, amounting to a total of 37,500,000 cedis.
Managing Director of Unilver Ghana PLC, Christopher Wolf Caesar, highlighted some gains chalked by the company and assured of improved services to the general public.
Our Transform project was also launched to support small-scale enterprises with financial assistance aimed at enhancing their businesses. We selected 2 Ghanaian enterprises that are currently undergoing the due diligence process ahead of the disbursement of the allocated funds. The company donated personal, oral, and home care products to over 20 NGOs and schools as well. So outlook for 2025, we remain committed to delivering consistent, competitive, profitable, and sustainable growth while living our purpose of brightening everyday life for all of us.
Meanwhile, responding to calls by consumers to reduce prices of its items, Mr. Wolf Caesar indicated that the company will continue to monitor the gains of the cedi and other economic factors to inform its decision.
I must say it's pretty recent, and therefore for us as an organization, we are looking at all the impactors to our business, not just FX. As you're aware, there's a lot of constituents of costs beyond just the FX change that happens within the economy. We will drive whatever is right for the business going forward in this regard. We will look at it as things evolve. Right now, it's very early days.
Unilver Ghana PLC received a number of awards in recognition of their outstanding performance in 2024.
Hunterman Rural Bank PLC has posted its most impressive financial performance for 2024 as a year of resilience and extraordinary growth. From record profits to increased dividends, the bank's turnaround story is igniting hope amongst stakeholders and investors. At the bank's 37th annual general meeting, board chairperson Elizabeth Obeng announced a significant surge across all financial sectors, underscoring the institution's strong position in Ghana's rural banking sector. Nathalia Kwansa has more.
Weathering the storms of the financial sector cleanup and a liquidity crisis that hit in 2022 and 2023, Hunterman Rural Bank has bounced back stronger than ever. At the bank's 37th annual general meeting, CEO Benjamin Afolishen gave all credit to God, teamwork, and discipline.
And so we were really down there. Then we decided to take our destiny into our own hands and to go out and challenge ourselves to rise up out of the ashes. And 2024, we give glory to God. If you look at the indicators, more than 200% increase in profit, and all the indicators are very positive. So the year has been very good. And as you can see, last year we paid dividend of 3 pesos. This year it's almost tripled to 8 pesos per share, which gives a return of 23.5% on your investment. Where will you get this? Now treasury bill is 14, 15, 16.
Profits before tax jumped from 7 million cedis in 2023 to over 20.5 million in 2024. Deposits grew by more than 55%, while total assets hit 430 million cedis.
Challenges will always be there, but it's about how you plan to overcome it. As I said, our major challenge was the DDAP, which we have overcome. Now we are doing a lot of credit to our customers, and businesses are booming because of the availability of credit. Yes, we want to see to it that despite the challenges that usually arise, a new government has come, the indicators have started looking good, but that is what usually happens. So we are not going to say that because the indicators are good, we are going to relax. We want to build resilience and make sure that whatever shocks come, we can overcome it and continue with a good performance so our shareholders will be happy. Basically, we are preparing ourselves for any eventuality. We don't want to look up to any government investment or anything. We are taking our destiny to our own hands.
Beyond the boardrooms, shareholders, young and old, are celebrating.
I came to the bank 1995, but it was in 2008 that I bought shares. And in fact, it has been beneficial.
I'm one of the pioneer shareholders of Hunterman. And honestly, I would say that Hunterman stands out unique because from the time of its inception to this date, it has grown from every year to year. And as I speak to you, the current dividend that was granted to the shareholders is over 22%, and it is very marvelous. So what I can say is that those around the community who are not yet members or are not transacting business with Hunterman should start to do so.
I will encourage the youth because I started since 1999 till now, and they have never failed us, especially this AGM. The dividend is so huge and it's very good. You can see that we the shareholders, we are smiling.
For Joy Business in Nathalia Kwansa, Western Region.
That's it for Business Life. I am Pius Kojubaka. We have more stories for you when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Beyond the Numbers is next.